Hello, everyone. You are all very welcome to our live online workshop for families, and it's a tactile book with Jen O'Brien. This workshop is part of the Festival of Curiosity. So my name is Heidi, and myself and my colleague Justina will be in the background if you need any assistance. If you have any questions throughout the workshop, or if you need Jen to slow down or to repeat anything, please pop that into the Q&A. The chat has been disabled for child protection reasons, but if you need to say anything, please pop that into the Q&A and we can respond to you there. As you know, this workshop is based on the story of The Princess and the Pea. So we would love to know, have you all read The Princess and the Pea? Do you know that story? Please feel free to write that in the chat, because if you're not familiar, Jen actually will be happy to read out the story or maybe read an extract from it. So please do let us know if you already know the story or if you'd like to hear a bit more about it. So without further delay, I am going to hand it over to Jen, and we hope that you all enjoy.
Hi, everyone. So tactile books encourage imagination and exploration. The aim of this workshop is to introduce parents and guardians to the wonderful activity of the tactile book. This is a workshop you can look over again and do with your child. This workshop is here to stimulate the use of our senses in a playful and fun way. It is important to know that tactile books are complex and take time, and this workshop is simply an introduction to what could be a series. So without any delay, yes, as I was saying with the materials, the list that I gave is very long, but it's really to give you an idea of all the different types of things that you can use. But usually with a tactile book, you would start with maybe an alphabet box, and then you would go into collecting objects and materials and creating a story box. So firstly, I'll wait on the P&A if anyone has gotten back to say whether they've, does everyone know the story of The Princess and the Pea? And I'd always like to encourage as well, if you are doing a story box and you want to encourage, if you want to collect objects and from nature, it's always lovely to go into the garden or, the local park and go on a bushwalk and collect pieces from nature that you can get their smells within their environment. So I've collected a story box here, and these are objects and materials and fabrics that make me think of The Princess and the Pea. And usually when you're doing your tactile book, it would be good to just even choose 3 objects that make you think of the story. But it's really fun to collect them. So what I've done with mine is I've collected some flowers and some lovely roses from the garden, and gathering all of those lovely smells when you open the box, because the princess could be lying on a bed of flowers. That could be quite interesting. And here are these very dramatic peas that I thought were quite magical, and the process of opening them up, and then the smells, the idea of being able to dry these peas and keep their jackets, and you can put different things into them, and the textures inside them, they're quite magical. And then I just chose some sticks from the garden. It's just really nice to collect all of these different textures. It's lovely to feel the textures as you collect them and then bring them into your story box. And then again, all of these different fabrics that you have lying around at home. You can do these lovely tactile books that are just experience books of your day and collect, pieces of textures. There's quite a lot of information in different textures, so it's good to just take your time with them. There's some fluff that I found lying around, and this is just to be clear, it's fake fluff. This is not real fur. And I thought it would be quite interesting that our princess has a different twist. So I would like my princess personally to be a lovely fluffy pet. because they are quite sensitive and they would definitely sense a pee at the bottom of the mattress. These are some different ribbons that I found lying around that can be used to bind your book. Just to be aware that a tactile book really is a process. So you really would start with listening to the story and then collecting the items. And then you might go into creating one tactile illustration, and then you can do another tactile illustration. I also have a fairy tale book from the Brothers Grimm. They're or the Brothers Grimm, because a lot of their tales are actually quite dark humored. But this is really to get the texture. I found the texture of that lovely old fairy tale book. It's very similar to crepe paper, and it just gives that feeling of a nice old book. I have some net. Again, don't be daunted to feel that you have to collect all of these objects, because you don't, but I just got very carried away because there's so much in this tale. Some tulle, some silk, and these are just some fabrics that were lying around, and I thought that they would be very well suited for all the different eiderdown covers and mattresses that the princess has on her bed. And then some of these really interesting old costume pieces that had all of these gems. Again, if you're working with anything like that, if a guardian could please assist, for health and safety reasons, I would leave these out of the material list, but what you do together with your guardian is up to yourselves. But this is the lovely little costumes that you can get from anywhere, just collecting old things. Just make sure to kind of hang on to them. And then, as you can see here, with these little patterns, you can feel all the different plaits and all the different stitchings going up. Each line here on this particular piece of fabric has a different texture. You can feel stripes, and it's good to just take your time with each one. So what we might do now is I'm just going to move on to the actual tactile illustration. Do think of drying leaves and all of that, and collecting all the way they dry, when you can press them in between a book, and all of these different ways, the flower, the way a rose would feel very different when it's fresh, and then how it would just feel very different. A few months later, you could do tactile illustrations to the seasons. And
yeah, I think we're okay to move along, Jen. I think we can work off the basis that everyone knows the story, because there's no one saying they haven't, so that's good.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move on into the tactile illustration and make this piece your own. It's good, the idea of tactile books is it really encourages imagination. So your princess can be anything that you like. It could be a creature, it could be a person, or it could be a flower. I like to work with A3 pages. I think it can work very, very nice for this particular piece because you've got a lot of space, and it's just lovely to feel the pictures in a tactile book. So it gives you lots of space. We will start by cutting some fabrics. And again, if a guardian could please assist with this. I have some that I've already ready cut, and then I'm going to cut some fresh ones as well. So with our tulle here, this could be hanging over. This is a lovely light net feeling. And I imagine back in the day of the princess and the pea, there was very, very extravagant textures and mattresses. So taking each piece of your fabric, feel free to cut them up or crumple them up, however you want to put them down on the page. With this, you can use, try and use a safe glue, and also there's double-sided tape, there's staplers. You know, you can do a practice illustration by just having lots of staplers. This is a tactile, this is going to make our tactile creature and character. And I decided to go with fluff because I think it's quite fun, and the feeling of it, there is something quite princess-like about this piece of fabric. So I'm going to start by sticking this at the top of the page, and then that will dictate where our mattresses go. But just to get the story out and ready, so we can always come back to it. So I'm going to firstly stick this down. If a parent or guardian could please assist for anything to do with the sticking part. I'm just going to get it down there now. And already I can feel that my first piece of fabric feels really nice and comfortable, as though it would be lying on several mattresses. Make sure to feel the textures and give yourself time with all of these textures just to get the details. Apologies, I thought I put that up. You can create lots of different face shapes. So I've already pre-cut some eyes for this, just for the sake of the finished look. And you can cut out little, I would use felt because it's a safe material. And then you can do lots of different textures here. I've got some fishnet as well. So I'm going to start with I've got some felt. This is the feeling of what you would feel, a nice warm blanket on the bed after the princess just comes in from that torrential rain. So I'll put that down first. Get one layer down. And getting another strip of fabric. And remember, they don't have to be the same size because every mattress and every blanket would be a completely different color and also a completely different shape and texture. So you can even crumple them down and just have fun with placing them underneath your character. Using a safe glue or double-sided tape or even a stapler, whatever way you like to put it down. And then just taking time with each layer. This one now, for example, this is very, very soft, lovely piece of silk that was just a scrap, and just all of those different textures. I can feel the tassel edges against it here, which is very nice. And just taking time with what textures you feel might go nice next to one another. We've got some yellow chiffon here that I would never use for anything else, so I just put it in the box and collected it. This is another material. It's just a lovely kind of soft, light cotton, delicate. You could see how it would be a nice thing to wear in the summer. That might go nice quite underneath. Maybe I'll put that one down next. We've got some velvet here. This is a lovely piece of velvet that was just from a ribbon. And it just feels so nice and luxurious. And I think that a princess would definitely be sleeping on something like this as well. It's kind of got that lovely furry feel. I could lay that one down next. Just feeling all of those textures together, and you can kind of already feel the different layers. And we have this lovely one that has lots of different kind of stitch and everything running through it. And I think that that would go quite nicely next to the lovely velvet. So apologies for my actual phone going off there, everyone. I had put it on Do Not Disturb, so it must have knocked something off when I was setting it up. Let's just hope it does not ring again. Again, when you're doing your tactile book, you wouldn't do all of this in one session. These things take time, and it's good to take the time to feel the textures and collect them, and to think of the stories and the smells that might be in the air when she comes in the torrential rain, and the different types of eiderdowns and mattresses that might exist. So with this, I might even just stick that down here. And just to think page by page. And as you can see, you've got lots of different textures going on here. You've also got your P, which you really don't want to forget about that, because that's a completely different texture in itself. You could either get peas or long beans like this one. This is a very dramatic one, but I did think that it was quite, it just looks like a fairy tale. So you can even put that down somewhere. We must not forget about that, but I'm just going to keep that at the end of my page so I remember. It also gives a lovely smell. And seeing as my princess is a pet, I think that my princess might have been rummaging around the garden and she smells. Just to remind myself that she's come in from outside. So she'd be around all these soggy petals of flowers, open gate. We could get a little bit of green in there as well. And this is another texture again, completely different. Maybe the pea could be, we could take one of the peas out. I think this could go on the front cover, we could put this on the front cover, the big pea. And maybe what we'll do is this magical pea will be tucked in under this piece of fabric. It could be nice also to make a little bit of a wish when you tuck it in. And I might just stick that in there. And remember that this event is going to be recorded, so you can always come back to it and have a look on YouTube so that you're not missing anything. We missed out on some of the netting, so I think it would be good to some of this lovely feeling of net. And remember that you can tuck in materials just underneath little sections and then come back to it. You can always change it around. Maybe there's bits of net coming out of these folds here. Only in a princess's bed. And we've got this, which is also net, but it's just a very soft net. You can see how that would kind of feel in the wind. Nice soft fabric. Then we have all of these ribbons that are collected, and they can be used as you like. You can use them on the pages, or you can use them to bind the book. This is another piece of fabric that I found. It was just very fun. It's like it's synthetic, but it's a little tassel. It's quite joyous. And it's quite tickly, and I can just imagine my creature maybe sleeping on top of something like this, or it could be for your bedposts as well. You wouldn't even need to put that much on each page. These are your twigs. You can kind of add maybe stepping ladder up there if you like. But for now, I think we'll just stick to these ones. We've got our pea inside, and the outside of the pea, I quite like these ones because they're furry on the outside and they smell really nice, and they make your page smell. So it brings your book to life. I'm just going to remove the fabrics that we don't need for now. And with this one, I just cut 2 circles. There's lots of different ways of making eyes, a nose, and a nose. I'm going to remove this so that we can see here. So this is just our simple page, but it's actually quite complex because each of these materials has a different texture. And the reason why I chose a creature is because I just think that the fluff element was really, really nice. And to know that it's your fairy tale when you want to reimagine it yourself. And as I said, the princess can be whoever you like. So for something like this, the surprise element of the story was making a creature as the princess. So I had this little nose cone made up. So everyone is going to do their own thing really in this moment. I just had one of these ready, and I got some newspaper and I rolled the newspaper up just to make a little snout, which is kind of fun, just getting pieces of paper, and you can roll it around your palm, and it makes the perfect nose for a lovely little animal, which is what this creature is. There's a few different sizes. And we can stick that together. for anyone really interested in doing a tactile book, I would suggest the way to go about it would be to think of a story and then go for a lovely walk and pick objects for the story, create a box. And it's very fun. If we were all on site right now, we'd be doing a guessing box. We'd be filling the box with lots of different things for the Princess of the Pea. And we would be guessing what the objects are. And we'd be able to kind of share our thoughts. So I just did this by doing a little rolled up piece of paper with some newspaper rolled up at the end of it. And I just thought it would be funny to give my creature a little nose. You can decide where you'd like to kind of put different. It's quite funny. He or she. Can come back to that and see. I might make it shorter actually. You can do lots of different variations of the same page as well, because that's what we have to do when we're making books. It's never going to be perfect on the first one, so you can always come back to it and change it, and each one can be a mood board if you like. See now? It's quite funny, I quite like that. Stick that down there. This is just a small little sample. Remember that all the different materials and the different bed sheets and everything might be hanging over it, and it might just look very, very messy. I mean, I think a lot of us don't really make our beds all the time, so let's be realistic and we can give a bit of extra character to it. But yeah, for an image like this, for a tactile illustration, you wouldn't normally do it in this length of time. You'd always spend a bit of time over maybe even a course of a few days creating one illustration. So this one was done quite fast, but it shows all the different layers that you can use. We have lots of different senses in here. We've got smell, we've got touch. I mean, all we need now is a little bit of sound, which you could actually do that by adding one of those things that you do with a card that you can open it up and you can maybe create a sound when you open the pages. They're quite fun. So that's just one illustration there. I'm going to just turn it over just to make sure that it's kind of going at the right angle. And again, this would take, you know, you take more time with it than what we spent today. But we'll start with creating the hole punches for our tactile book. We have these pages which are pre-cut. You can use any color paper that you want, but just to make sure that you know that you want it to be heavy enough so that you can stick these fabrics on and these materials. You know, sometimes you might be sticking something quite heavy if you were telling a story about someone who was using a pair of keys to open the door, like Cinderella. You're going to be sticking these heavy objects on, so you do want a heavyweight card. This is a heavyweight brown card, which is really, really nice, and it's also very, very inexpensive. So what I'm going to do here with this one is I'm actually going to just turn this over for a moment. She will do this here. And I'm just going to grab all of the pages together. Just get them like so. I do think it's nice to build your book over time, because you might want to just do a page and then come back to it and do another page of some other story, and you can kind of build it up. And then tying it with ribbons just allows you to be more free with your tactile book. So with this, I'm just going to simply with a hole puncher. And the next one here. Just get the hole puncher again. Choose the objects from your story that really jump out at you. You know, for this, of course, the P, which is actually just fallen out of the page there. I'm gonna pop that back in. You know, it could just be even one texture going all the way down. So just to give an idea of the tactile book, let's say we're doing 3 pages. We've got 1 page. We can do our interior pages as well. We can do one with a P, which we will do now. But I just want to give you an idea of this. We're going to set that aside now, and we're going to start with our front cover. With the front cover, it's actually quite nice to use crepe paper because it's cheap. This is, again, completely up to you. You might want to use a piece of cardboard that you found and you could stick things down onto it, or you might want to paint something or not have a front cover until the book is finished. But with this, I just thought that the crepe paper is very easy. All you have to do is get your Pritt stick. I love using crepe paper for front covers of any notebooks I'm making. I just find it's just very effective, and it's a really straightforward, kind of fun, freeing, should I say, way of making kind of a dramatic cover. So you can get your Pritt stick and you can just go all over your page. There we go. And this I had pre-cut, but you wouldn't even have to do that. You can just get any sheet and just lay it down. It's here. And then just spread it across with your hands. And it doesn't matter if you get those, you know, already crepe paper is very, very creased. But if you get those extra creases, all the better, because that's what an old book should feel like. Just press all that down there. And then turn it over. And then just simply get the scissors and cut the remaining crepe just off at the corners. And the more rugged your book is, the better. It's a tactile book after all, so that's really what gives it. You want it to be tactile and you want it to have lovely, all of these textures. The different colors that you can get with crepe paper is just incredible. It's so vibrant. great. And just cut that excess out there. And I'm just going to re-puncture those holes there. It's always good to keep your desktop very tidy as you can have it. Got our front cover there. Just feels like that old linen. And I'm going to put 3 pages in here, just to tie it together for now. But I'd recommend when you're doing your tactile book to do all of the pages singularly, and then at the end tie it together so you don't have to work with them all on top of one another. I'm just going to put this page in here. So we see that there's a front cover and a back cover, and you can do interior pages if you like, which are the pages on the inside of the book, which just give so much character. You can do patterns on them. You know, you could do patterns of peas on these ones. I just collected some old ribbon. So this is a nice kind of soft satin green. Like this one. Different shapes. These ones are kind of more flat. These ones are actually like spaghetti ribbons, and then these ones are flat ribbons. Got a lovely variation there. There's lots of different ways to bind your book, but I find this way there's more control. You can always go back and change certain things that you want, and there is something kind of magical about having your book tied with these lovely satin ribbons. So what I'll do here now is just getting one corner. We're going to just put the ribbons through the holes. We could probably go with less. Go. And even what you could do is, if you were so eager to get your book done, you can just put them through one of the punch holes. And you can kind of hang it like so. You can keep them going in to the other ones there. For now, we've got our front cover, and then we have our interior pages here, which I think could be quite nice with different patterns of peas and different elements of the story. You could just add lots of different design in here. And then you go inside, and then you've got the big reveal of all of these lovely mattresses. And then you turn over your page. And then we can go to the back page. But what I'll do now is, we probably wouldn't be completely finished our story now, but for anybody who has anything done, they can just sit there with their piece, and I'm just going to read The Princess and the Pea. The Princess and the Pea. by Hans Christian Andersen. Once upon a time, there was a prince who wanted to marry a princess, but she would have to be a real princess. He traveled all over the world to find one, but alas, his search was unsuccessful. There were many princesses, but it was difficult to find out whether they were real ones. There was always something about them that just did not seem quite right. So he came home and was sad, for he would have liked to have met a real princess. One evening, a terrible storm came on. There was thunder and lightning and torrential rain. Suddenly, a knocking was heard at the city gate, and the old king went to open it. It was a princess standing outside, but good gracious, what a sight! The rain and the wind had made her look so just not like a princess at all. She was frazzled and grubby, and yet she was a real princess. Well, we'll soon find out about that, said the old queen. But without saying anything, she went into the bedroom, took all the bedding off the bedspread, and laid a pea at the bottom. Then she took 20 mattresses and laid them on the pea, and 20 eiderdown beds on top of the mattresses. On this, she had to lie all night. In the morning, she was asked how she slept. Oh, very badly, she said. I hardly closed my eyes all night. Heaven only knows what was on my bed. I was lying on something horribly hard. Now they knew she was a real princess because she felt the pea right through the 20 mattresses and the 20 eiderdown beds. Nobody but a real princess could be as sensitive as that. So the prince took her for his wife. He knew he had a real princess, and the pea was put in a museum where it can still be seen to this day. And actually, that's what we're doing right now. We're keeping the memory of the princess and the pea alive with this tactile book. And what we'll do is we'll put the ribbons through here more again, just to bring it together. There's lots of different ways to put your book together. You can staple it, you can buy a plastic binder as well. Some people even just keep their stories within the box and then they can come back to them later. That's the lovely thing about a story box. You can just really keep it there and you feel like you've already created the story. So usually it would be good to take time with your story box and enjoy it. Enjoy the different senses it has to offer. We're just going to bind our book like so. And you can tie it together at the end. Just leave it free like that. So yeah, just to start again with a tactile book, just to conclude, it's always good to start with a story and to think of just a few objects for that. Take time with it, enjoy the guessing box and the collecting and the experience the tactile books offer, and that they really do encourage exploring and an imagination. And then it's always good to read the story and to collect the items and put them on the page. Then you can think about creating the book. I'm actually going to do the P for the final page. You can do it whatever way you like, but I quite like the idea of pattern. I think They're really nice, the shapes of them. I'm going to open this up to the full here. And all the different textures. Remember that they are going to be messy, tactile books, but that's quite fun, I think. Take that apart. That could be quite an interesting texture. We could put them against maybe using the crepe paper again. An interior page, just doing any kind of a pattern. Using abstract shapes. There's lots of modern takes on fairy tales, and I just think that they're really, really fun. It's a great way of embracing your imagination because, you know, the story is already there, but you can always think of all the new ways of reinventing these tales. So again, I'm just going to get my Pritt stick and I'm going to stick whatever I like down onto the page. I'm not going to be too precious, not like our princess. And remember, you don't have to think of the story step by step. You can think of different parts of the story and just really enjoy playing with that. So for me, I just loved the part of the magical pea. We've got our green bean here and our peas. You can see the different kinds of feeling that we have on the page and the different patterns. Just to kind of have fun with it. You can gather old materials that you didn't use before that you want to use, and you can pop them down there. And it's okay to not stick stuff down. I'm not going to actually stick these down here because I think it might be nice to think about what I'm going to do and reflect on where I might like things to go. I'm just going to leave that like so for now, and I can come back to it. I'm going to just bring you back to our fun illustration, tactile illustration for today. And that's it for today. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the tactile book workshop. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Also, if anyone would like, I can send out details of the workshop through email to Justina or Heidi if people have any questions afterwards on different types of tactile materials that they can use. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival as well.
Thank you so much, Jen. I absolutely loved it. It's so cute. And what I really love, I didn't actually even imagine making my princess into something else. Like, I love the idea of making her a flower or like a little creature, a little fluffy creature like you did. That's such a lovely idea. And I think to use your imagination and go beyond the borders of the story and have this amazing tactile book that can be anything really. You have to let your imagination run wild with it. That's great. Thank you so much. We'd love to hear from all of you. We'd love to see what you made and hopefully be able to put up some images on our social media. So if you want to, I put the email address in the chat there for you, so you can email in any images or any feedback you have. We'd love to hear from you. The email address is chesterbeattyonline@cbl.ie. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you and see what you managed to create together. So thank you all for joining us, and we hope that you join us again very, very soon. Bye-bye now.